Usually we feel high emotions when something important is at stake. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how to make the reader feel the emotional stake of the event or whatever is happening in your story, and also how to make sure that your character stays consistent. So you want to avoid having the character be inconsistent, and you want to make sure that the stakes are high if you want the reader to care about the emotion that he's having. So let's talk about that today. Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante. Welcome again to this series on emotion. Okay, so today we're going to talk about why do we care about things? We care because something important is at stake, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say that your character gets out of his house, he's going somewhere important, and he finds that his car has been repossessed. He goes to find his car, he looks there where he parked it, it's not there. It's like, what happened to my car? Somebody steal my car. Gets on his phone, tries to find out, ends up finding out that the car was repossessed because he didn't make his payments and they took it. Okay, so now the character is upset, he curses, he screams, he yells, and then he starts to cry. Okay, so what are we feeling as the reader? Well, if we're feeling like, okay, this really sucks for him, he doesn't have his car, hopefully he can make some payments and then maybe get his car back. It's not the end of the world. I can see he's angry, I would be angry too. You're going to have those kind of feelings as the reader. But let me just change this around a little bit. Let's say that throughout half of this novel, you have been watching him fight for custody of his child. His wife left him, and he's got this kid he's taken care of, and she's fighting for custody. And also all kinds of other things have happened, right? So maybe she emptied out his bank account, so he ended up not being able to not only make the car payments, he's had problems with other things. And then maybe he isn't doing a good job at work, and he ends up like losing his job because he's not doing well. So he's had all these tragic events. He's trying to hold on to this kid, and the wife comes from a wealthy family, and the parents are actually helping her. Her parents are helping her, and she got her like this amazing lawyer, and now she's suing for custody. And he actually, when he walks out of the house, he's leaving to go to the court to fight for his child. And then he finds out that his car has been repossessed. And he curses and yells and screams, and then sits right there where his car should have been, on the curb, and starts to cry. So the stakes here are not a lot higher. He's not crying about the car, is he? He's crying because he knows he's going to lose his kid. He's not going to make it to the courthouse. Who cares about the car, right? The stakes are not the car. The stakes here in this story is that as hard as he tried, he's going to lose his child because he's not going to get there, and he doesn't have his money, and he doesn't have a car, and what is he going to do, right? So as the reader, we now care about him because the stakes are high. Like, it's not just about the car, it's about his child, and we know that as a reader, we know how important that is. So as a writer, we have to, especially for that big climactic emotional moment that we want to carry the reader to, it has to be high stakes. It has to matter, because if it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter, right? If it's not really capturing, if it's not making an impact, the reader isn't going to care about the big event. It doesn't matter how important it is if it's not important to the character, okay, and to the story. So hopefully that gives you sort of an idea of what I mean, that the stakes have to be high. It has to be something that creates the emotion to begin with, and how we started this series, you have to prepare the reader for this. So you've prepared the reader. You've seen that the character has had all these unfortunate things that have happened to him leading to this event, and he's been working super hard to try to get this goal of having this child, and now this happens, and this is kind of the last straw, and he's lost it, right? He's going to lose the child. He lost his temper, and now he has nothing really left to do except cry, because there's nothing left emotionally for him to do. And that, kind of kills us as the reader too, because we know where he's at. Okay, we hope he's going to pull it together. But right now, for this climactic moment, we realize that things are really bad for him, and we feel bad for him. Okay, so that's the first thing, is making sure that you don't have low stakes. Okay, so avoid that and make sure that the stakes are high. The other thing you want to avoid is having the character act inconsistently. And what I mean by that is that the character has a personality type, right? So if the character, let's say we've watched this lady be sort of insecure, right? She's kind of an insecure character. She's not, she doesn't really have her things together. Like, she kind of tries, but she's insecure. She makes mistakes at work, and this is kind of her personality. Okay, so we watched her do this, and then all of a sudden she gets called to her kid's school, and she's completely in control. She's got it together. She's acting like a completely different character. If your character is inconsistent, we're going to kind of lose our connection with the character. We're not going to feel emotion. Like, we're not going to say, wow, cool, she's being, what do they call it, a tiger mom now. She's being strong, right? Or I guess the tiger mom tries to control the kid. She's being a tough mom. So we're not really going to feel that, because we're going to get pulled out of of who this character is, and we're not really going to feel that emotion. Like, we're not going to feel proud of her, let's say, for standing up for her kid at school, because she seems inconsistent to us. We're not going to believe it, right? We're not going to believe that all of a sudden, with these authority figures over here in the school, she was okay and she was able to to be tough, but at work with these authority figures, she's really not. So we can do that, right? But what do we have to do? We have to prepare the reader. Maybe there are 2 or 3 little things that involve the kid. Maybe she's a completely different person when it comes to her kid, as a lot of moms are. So if we see that, yes, she's really insecure here, but when it comes to the kid, she handles this. And then another little thing happens, and she handles this with the kid. And then she handles this with the kid. And then maybe we have the big moment at the school where it's not a surprise now. We're like, yeah, she's, and maybe this is what really makes her not be this insecure person anymore, because she realizes, I can do this. So whatever, again, I'm making this up as I go along, but you can see that what I'm trying to say is that you need to make sure that your character is consistent in their emotions and in the way that they behave and act, because otherwise we're not going to believe it. We're not going to believe maybe a tough guy that's always got everything, in control, and all of a sudden he breaks down and cries about something that seems insignificant to us. Again, unless we prepared the reader. So that's the key, right? Is making sure that the reader, you're showing the reader who this character is and how the emotions vary, because in reality, emotions are complex. We're not always feeling the same things. We're not always consistent as humans. But again, fiction is not reality. In reality, we can be inconsistent, and we often are inconsistent, right? But with fiction, we can't be, because then it's not believable. The character, the reader will not believe us and will not follow what we're trying to say. So be consistent and make sure that you are showing, that you're showing the reader if the character is going to go through some kind of emotional, explosion, or do something completely different and out of character. Show us how this is happening, why this is happening, and why we can believe that this character actually would act this way. Okay. In my upcoming novel, This Is Now, I had a challenge with emotions, because I wanted 2 things to happen with one of my characters. I wanted my readers to dislike who my character used to be, but like him now. So in the past, he is the main character's father, and some of the issues that she currently has, she has because of her past with her parents. Her parents both divorced. He was an alcoholic. There was a lot of fighting, and she was in the middle, like kids often are, right? They're in the middle of the nonsense that's happening between the parents. And so she didn't have a happy childhood because of all the stuff that was going on. But she has a lot of resentment for him because not only was he an alcoholic, but he just didn't know how to be a father. And some of the things that he did to help, or what he thought was helping his daughter not go in a bad direction, was kind of abusive. Okay, and so there's one scene, and so the way that I do this is like, I couldn't have just the present time, because now as she's an adult and obviously he's much older, and he's not an alcoholic anymore. He's kind. He does all kinds of nice things. He's there for his daughter, and so I didn't want her reactions to him or her feelings toward him to be irrational. That wouldn't make sense, that he's a nice guy and now she is so mean to him, even though she wasn't overly mean, but you could tell that she just doesn't. She doesn't have a close relationship with him. And so the way that I did this, the way that I ended up kind of creating this, is I had some scenes where she's thinking about the past or dreaming about the past, and or conversations about the past. So that one scene where she's talking to her love interest, her boyfriend, and she's talking about her dad, and she's saying how her dad caught her smoking, and he was really angry about it. And so in order to make the point that it was bad, he ground up the cigarette and told her to eat it. And she didn't want to, but he forced her to. And she tells him how she did, right? She ate this, she swallowed it as she was crying. And that, and so her boyfriend says, "Oh my gosh, well that was harsh." And she says, "It was more than harsh, it was abusive." And now as an adult, right, she understands this. And she also understands that he, the reasons, not that she really forgives him for it, but she understands that what he was trying to do, but it was still the wrong thing to do. So again, he's not an evil guy, but there are reasons why she disliked him and really hated him when she was a teenager. Because of these obviously bad parenting decisions and very kind of abusive ways of handling things. So by showing this, right, showing who he was, who he used to be, I want the reader's emotion to be anger. Like, how could he do this to a teenager? How could he do this to this kid? No wonder she's angry with him. That's the feeling that I want my reader to get. And also like see that, okay, the changes that he's made and that he's not that person anymore, and kind of forgive him. That's what I want her to do, eventually forgive him so that she can move on with her life. And so of course I want the reader to forgive him as well. Okay, so sometimes you have to play with emotions a little bit, and you have to figure out like what is the best way to make my reader understand these characters and feel the things that these characters are feeling. So I hope this helps. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button and share this with your friends. And I will see you again next week, and we are going to be almost finished. I think that it might be our last, or actually I think I have two more shows on emotions, 2 more videos on emotions for you, and then we're going to be finished with this series. I hope you're enjoying it. I'll see you next Friday.